and James, she's right. They're absolutely right. We know that this defendant shot and killed Dante Wright. It's on video. It's not as if that part is a mystery. And I think the prosecution did a really good job laying out the description of the fact that, listen, this gun has been on her right side for 26 years. She's had all of the training to know how to use that gun on her right side. So how compelling did you find this closing argument to convince the jury to convict her?
I found it compelling up to a point. Where I think it fell short is when she concluded with saying that she failed and that she failed Dante Wright. I mean, that's clear. But you know what? Jurors are sometimes easy to excuse failures. We try to do our best, and sometimes we fail. We learn more from our mistakes. We've all heard about those types of things. I think what the prosecution had to emphasize is embrace those difficult jury instructions that I've been speaking about, because both causes of action require a conscious decision on her part. And I think what they needed to do was to take that leap and say, when she held that gun in front of her and was pointing it at Dante Wright, she made the conscious decision to pull that trigger. And once she makes that conscious decision to pull that trigger, she consciously knows that that can cause great bodily harm, and use the jury instructions to propel that jury to a finding of guilt instead of, I mean, I think they should have a finding of guilt here, frankly. But on the other hand, this is a case that appears too close to call for even experts to really have some sense of knowledge as to what's going to happen here.
And there was a lot there was argument made by the state. Let me say that she didn't have to have intent. We don't have to show as an element of either of these crimes intent. But isn't it, I think it's fair to say, it could be a difficult thing to really distinguish between intent and a conscious decision. Is that an easy differentiation for you? And if so, how would you describe it?
Well, normally in an excessive force case, yes, absolutely, because we just have to show that the officers acted objectively unreasonable, that they made a conscious decision to pull that trigger, to use that taser, to put someone in a chokehold, though their actions were a conscious decision here. But here, the jury instructions to find criminal conduct in Minnesota show that Officer Potter would have had to have the consciously did the act to cause great bodily harm, or consciously did the act to cause an undue risk of harm to Dante Wright. And that's where you have to show some level of consciousness that when she pulled that trigger, it was going to cause harm. And that's why I think it's fair game to say that even if she was holding a taser, she shouldn't have pulled a trigger on a taser, given the totality of the circumstances. But that is a police officer with 26 years of experience and all of that training, that when she had that gun in front of her and when she has that hand on the trigger, she has an obligation to know that she's handling the firearm. And when she pulls that trigger, she is making a conscious decision to do so, and she knows that pulling the trigger of a firearm, it's going to cause bodily harm. There was a way to put it that I think could have been more effective for the jury than actually was in this case.
And James, clearly this is not an easy decision for this jury, because we're at 11 hours, 10 minutes. And my team can tell you I have a little bit of anxiety today, because I keep saying, all right, why haven't we heard anything? What did they order for lunch? Did they take a lunch break? Are they having any questions? We've heard nothing from the jury, but we know they're back there doing their job, deliberating. We'll certainly keep everyone posted when we hear anything from that courtroom. Coming up, we're going to take a look back